a previous video that I did on choosing the right sealer or stain. We got a lot of, it was a little longer than video, it was a little over 8 minutes, but we got a lot of response directly to me where we've posted the video and so forth and the link to it in regards to expanding on a little bit more about what I meant by deck maintenance and the longevity and expectation of stains and so forth. So I want to go a little more in depth and actually explain it a little more using wood samples. I'm in my office right now, one of our offices. This is where we do the contracting, so we have a lot of the samples and stuff. So it's easy to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's get into this. How do you choose the right sealer or stain? Well, the one thing I had discussed in the other one was about maintenance. And I'm going to get into what deck maintenance actually is, as well as the expectation. So what happens is when we go to see a customer or a homeowner watching this as well, when you pick a sealer or stain for your deck, your expectation is you're not going to have to do it every year. You don't want to have a contractor come back every year for maintenance unless you have, and there's always exceptions to rules, exotic wood. So if you have some exotic hardwoods like Masaranduba, Ipe, Kumaru, Garapa, et cetera, those hardwoods are more dense. It's hard for the stain to penetrate. You're usually looking at yearly maintenance on those if you're looking for appearance. The one good thing about those type of woods is they just last, seems like forever. So if you neglect it a year, it's not going to hurt it at all. So this really applies to our cedar, PT, and some of the other softer woods that we use traditionally in decking. So we don't want to see you every year. We don't want to do it every year. Going the other way, as I mentioned, anything between 2 and 3 years is good for maintenance. Anything over 3 years, you're probably going to have a little bit harder time maintaining that. That's more film forming, more solid. We get into things like acrylics and just those harder, more opaque finishes that are hard to maintain moving forward because they actually just sit on the top and they peel away. As I referenced earlier, it could be just traffic pattern. It could be the pets, big dog. They scratch it, it's gone. Then what happens? So anyway, let's get into what we're looking at as far as maintenance on wood and so forth. What we want to do, if it's a horizontal surface to deck, what we want to do is every 2 years come back and lightly clean, recoat. And what maintenance usually does is we want to keep the deck looking the same. Same thing would apply to a house fence or whatever. We want it to look the same. So what we're doing is vertical surfaces, they take twice as long to wear. So what we will do is do half of whatever we're going to do on the horizontal moving forward. So we two coat everything year one. We come back for the maintenance. It's always two coats on the horizontals. So step treads, railings, floor. We're going to do two coats, single coat the vertical, and it looks even again. Don't two coat everything every time. Okay, if we're dealing with a fence, fences can be tricky because they're vertical, but the sun could be baking one side and not the other side. You may, to maintain that and keep that looking good in future maintenance, is two coats on the sunny side and one coat on the shaded side to keep it looking the same all the time. So you have to determine those vertical surfaces, how they sit, whether they're shaded, sun, so forth and so on. The expectation of a vertical surface is probably going to be year 4 to 5. That's when you want to get back and do a fence, do the siding on a house. Nobody wants their house done every 2 years, their fence done every 2 years. I know that people are selling maintenance about yearly and 2 years. It's a money grab or the product just isn't as good. It's just one of the two things, okay? The product, it may be maintainable, but to maintain it yearly is just asking too much. Customers don't want that. They're going to move on from you. If you're building a business, you're not going to like this because your customers are moving on. If you're a homeowner looking at this, you don't want to be doing it every year. So those yearly ones are not going to work. On the same side, those 3 year plus ones, when you go back out, if they're shells and they're film formers, then what happens is they're going to be really hard to maintain. It's not like you can go clean and just recoat because if you do, wherever if the stain still exists, it's going to look different than where it's been scratched away or worn away. Okay. So anyway, let's get into this. What do I mean by deck maintenance? Deck maintenance is where the coating actually goes into the wood. It penetrates, not like a film former where it sits on the surface. Okay, more opaque usually. It wants to go into the wood. Okay, We want the stain to go into the wood. That way what happens is, as it wears over that 2-year period before we go back to do the maintenance, what happens is the surface will wear between sun and wear. Hopefully when we go back, it looks pretty decent. Everything should last good the first year. It starts to degrade more into the second year. You want to get it before it completely breaks down. We do a light cleaning, and we call replenish. So we're replenishing. It doesn't matter if it's water-based or oil-based. This happens to be a water-based. People say water-based don't penetrate, but they do. Deck Restoration Plus Deck and Wood Stain. Full disclosure, it does penetrate. When stains penetrate, then all you have to do is, as they wear, light clean, recoat, you're back in business. Get the next 2 or 3 years out of it. You will never, should never have to strip it off and start over unless you're going to change color or product or something like that. That's maintenance. That's the key. If you're a homeowner, this makes it easier on your life. Most homeowners do it one time, they're done anyway. Contractors, this is what contractors love because it just makes it so much easier. Okay. Now, if you're a film former, then what happens is, and you can see, it doesn't penetrate the wood. It sits on the surface. These are not maintainable products. So what happens is, if you have a product that penetrates and you come back a year later and it's gone, or 2 years and it's completely gone, or a year and it's broken down, the customer's not going to want you back. Homeowner doesn't want to do it every year. If it's too film forming, then what happens is it's going to be harder to maintain. We might have to go back and sand this next time before we recoat. There's a whole lot of things that can go into maintaining or restaining these type of products. So what I'm telling you is, in summary, the sweet spot is between year 2 and 3. That's when a homeowner wants to go out and do the deck again if they're doing it. If it's a contractor, then that's what we want to do, the same thing. Between year 2 and year 3, that's when we want to go out and do the maintenance. We put our people on 2 years plus or minus. We want to get 2 before it breaks down. There are some times when we go out there, our stain looks great, and we can still do the maintenance before year 3. Once year 3 goes, and sometimes it's even a little before that, it can happen, no matter who's staying and how they wear, you may have to do a little bit more in regards to the cleaning or prepping. But that 2 to 3 years is the sweet spot for maintenance. Deck maintenance. Enough of the Tim the Tool Man, tool time stuff. We got to have it last durable. It's got to last 5 years, 10 years, 25 years. Those products are garbage. They do not work. They will never work. If they're film formers, what happens is they're gone. Then what happens? Hard to maintain. If you have one of these lifetime, 25-year, whatever things, they fill the cells of the wood, they protect the wood, protect. Yes, they'll protect the wood, but then the sun breaks down. There's no UV protection or very little in those, and over the course of time, the wood grays. Then what are you going to do? How can you address the appearance? You can't. So there's no perfect product. Be careful of the ones that are over 3 years. Be careful of the ones that don't last. They don't hold up more than a year. They got to get to year 2 to year 3. That's the sweet spot. Hopefully, this video has been helpful. Hopefully, you look for those type of products. If not, send a message to the Wizard of Wood. We can steer you in the right direction. I'm Everett Abrams, the Wizard of Wood. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and have a great day.